Alright folks, we're down here at a spot I like to come to for a couple reasons to catch hellgrammites. Not exactly a secret location. It's kind of a busy area actually. There's a greenway where people walk right up here, so it's easy to get to. But the thing I like about this is there's quite a lot of current here. And it's also quite shallow, so it's easy to get around in and easy to see in. We've had a little rain, so the water's stirred up in some spots, and it makes it a little hard to see the hellgrammites. And the way I like to catch them, I don't stir up the bottom and use a screen and all that. That's a good way to do it, but I just get them one by one off the bottoms of rocks because I don't like to tear up the creek bed too much, because stuff's always spawning. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the best way to do it to me. So there's one right there. See him? Right there. I tend to find lots of them on the bigger rocks. And if you don't tear up the hellgrammites, sometimes you can get stoneflies and things like that. Those are decent bait too. But hellgrammites this time of year are terrific bait. You can always catch smallmouths on them. There's a lot of trout left over. This is stocked trout water, and they only stock once or twice after about April or May. But there's a lot of holdover fish. People think they all get caught because they call it put and take, but that's just not the case. There's always a few in here to be found. Sometimes you get into a whole bunch of them real quick, and sometimes it takes you a while. I'm not exactly dialed in on them, I'd say. They're right there is a stonefly. And those are decent bait. I'll throw him in the can too. When you run out of hellgrammites, they're usable. There's one. That's a pretty big one right there. It's a good spot to find one too. We'll pay a little more attention right in here. There's one. Smaller one, but we'll take him. He'll fit on a hook. So that's 3. Let's just stay a few more minutes here and see if we can get a few more, shall we? There's another one. Another smaller one. You always want to watch too when you turn these rocks over in case you knock one off. Every once in a while you'll look down and you'll see one floating around the stream, or if your eyes are good, you'll spot them on the bottom. There's the big one right there. Yep. Like that one. He was on the bottom. Super dog magnum, as Mr. Steve would say. There's another big one. I have one of my 32nd ounce jig heads, orange in color, and I put a little split shot up above it just to give it a little more weight. The river's up a little bit because we got some rain, a couple of thunderstorms in the last couple of days, so I'm going to just start in some of these deep runs. These are maybe 4 foot deep, some of them, a lot of rocks on the bottom. And I'm just going to kind of keep ticking it off the bottom. I put one of the smaller hellgrammites on for this because you always get some junk fish, some chubs, and sometimes even little panfish and stuff like that. And I don't want them to pick apart the big hellgrammites that I have. I want to use them down the river there. One of the things this time of year, because again it's the middle of the summer. So when the water gets hot, there's one. Oops. One of the things that's going to happen here when the water's hot is the trout are going to go looking for any oxygen they can get. So anywhere you find a little bit of white water is where the trout are going to be if there's some in here. So spots like that are ones you really want to pay attention to, and I'm just going to kind of work my way through the current, because sometimes you'll find them in here too. Just the current, the water bouncing over rocks creates little pockets of oxygen too. And sometimes there's a little spring hole or something in here where the water gets colder. Any change in temperature where they can find cooler water, they're going to go. And especially if it's a spot where they don't have to do a whole lot of work to stay there. Trout this time of year are looking to conserve energy, so they're not using their oxygen supplies and looking for the easy meals. They don't want to be working real hard for it. So again, this is one of those spots. I'm a country boy, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. I would probably do better not in the city somewhere. But there is plenty of opportunities for fishing and outdoors stuff, even right within the city limits, if you look for them. Boy, these are an ugly old thing, but that's what I like to do. Hook them right behind the head. They get a little bit of a shell there. And then hook them right through the back. A lot of ways to skin the cat, and everybody does it different. But in creek fishing like this, the big thing that I'm looking for is to keep the, boy, they got pinched too, to keep them on your hook. So that's what you end up with right there. And then I keep the split shot maybe, 6-8 inches above them. This here is really what I'm after. It's a deep, deep hole. There's an old, some sort of a dam or a race or something here. So I'm going to try to stay low so that they don't see my shadow. We don't have a lot of sunlight to deal with, so that's good. And get right in the current there and just let her drift. I'm going to take a couple right up into the head here where all the oxygen is, right in the head of the pool. It is a little harder to fish, and you need a little more weight to get down sometimes. But the key is they want a good natural drift. That's what I always try to get. And especially if you're wanting to catch a trout. Drifting it through naturally, not pulling it back up against the current as much as you can. There's one. Oh no, I don't know what it was. Again, I gave him a lazy hook set. I was kind of afraid that was a trout that wasn't well hooked, which is absolutely what it was, not well hooked. Yeah, we're at another spot just a couple miles up the road here. Excuse the noise, there's a little work on a bridge up ahead of me, but this is another nice little spot that I almost forgot about. There's some deep undercut banks here and some big long rocks. It's a great spot for smallmouths, and it's pretty common to get into a holdover trout as well. So while I had a couple helgamites on hand, I thought, we'll just come down here and throw a few in here. I also came up with a bonus dry bag that somebody left up on the bank up there, so I'll at least pick it up. If it holds water, I'll take it home with me. If not, I'll take it home with me and throw it out. Don't leave trash out here, people. Boy, I am having trouble with the smallmouth bite today. I thought this would be a sure thing, but there's a great spot right up here. This is my favorite hole in this particular spot. There's a deep ledge up here, and the current pulls you right into it, kinda. And there's always a smallmouth or two laying up under there. I'm sure they're there today. The only question is whether we can make them hit or not. I have not been successful at that so far. I know there's some in here. This little ledge up here is the spot. If we can't get them here, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, there's a good hit. That I didn't get the hook set on quick enough. There's one. Yep. That's a good smallmouth. I don't know how good he is, but better than what I've been catching, let's put it that way. Boy, they are hard fighting fish. They are just fun. If all you've ever fished for was largemouths, you really need to try these. And this isn't it's not a 12-inch fish, but man, they pull. Pretty bronze color. Not a giant. There he goes. I don't know if I've mentioned this or not, but I don't eat bass. I don't like them. It's not the flavor. The flavor's fine, like any other fish probably, but the texture is a little bit mealier and mushier. Smallmouths are better than the largemouths, but I throw them all back when I catch them. Let's do that same trick again, because I'll bet there's more than one in here. I would almost stake my reputation on it. There's a bit of a mayfly hatch come off over there. I don't know if you can see it or not. The little bitty smallmouths are all coming up after them. Oops. That should have been another one. So this is the Roanoke River. It goes right through the center of town in Roanoke, right through downtown Roanoke. It flows down, and there's a dam down by the Blue Ridge Parkway. And that's really kind of the start of the lake proper, down below that. If you look on a map, Explorer Park, Rutroff Point at Explorer Park, that's at the tip of Explorer Park. That's kind of the end of the river and the beginning of the lake. It's still river down in there. They still, it's still the Roanoke River branch, but it starts to deepen up and widen out a little bit. And I fish a few miles down from there. Most of that. There's another one. Another smallmouth. I fish a few miles down from there most of the time when I'm doing my crappie fishing. I'm down between Hardy and Goodview. Boy, these things are pulling fish. They're little, but man, they pull. Another little guy. This one's smaller than the last, but I think he pulled harder. Yep. There's plenty of these in there, which is really nice, because in a few years you're going to have some really good ones. The biggest one I've caught in the river here is probably about 4 pounds, three and a half, 4 pounds, something like that. I never weigh them or measure them really. I throw them right back in the water, but there's plenty of 18-inch fish in here if you take the time to find them. There's another. It's a smaller one. They are fun though. Fish with light tackle. I mean, there's no reason to be using 20-pound test. I see guys do that, but man, I know you don't break off as many hooks maybe, but it's fun to play a little fish like this. He just puked up a little catfish. Another little one there. Put him right back. The smallmouths are typically not too fussy and not too hard to convince. If you get a bait by them, they're probably going to take it. They're really aggressive, and when you find them, there's going to be a lot of them in here probably. See, this is one of those things, and I talk about this sometimes, but again, I live in the city limits of Roanoke. There's one. But this is a 10-minute drive from where I live. I mean, look at this river. I know you can hear noise in the background from the industrial park, or they're working on a bridge, or somebody's out walking their dog, or whatever, but my goodness. I mean, this is 10 minutes from the city. You know, I can walk to a grocery store and all of that. So you're, you know, the things you get accustomed to when you live in town. But man, you can go out and you can find a place to catch fish, have some fun. That's what it's all about. Don't think that you have to fly to Montana to get some fishing in. This is as pretty of a river as I've found anywhere in places, you know. And people just get put off on it because they think it's, you know, not pristine wilderness or whatever. You know, whatever. But you can come out here, you can have a great time, you can catch fish, and it is just gorgeous out here. It is a nice way to spend a morning or spend an afternoon, or go for a float or whatever you want to do. It's just a great spot. So find these kind of places near you and take advantage of them. I think probably anywhere you live in the United States, you can find a place like this that's not far from you. Or something else, you know, something outdoors that's worth spending your time doing. We've all got those bucket list type trips, you know? Like, for me, one of mine would be, I'd like to go out west to a state I've never been in, and I'd like to catch a cutthroat trout. I think that would be awesome. I'll take my fly rod out and catch a cutthroat trout. Another one, you know, I want to go out and elk hunt, because that's a species I've never been able to hunt. And, you know, those are bucket list type things. I'm not going to do that every year. Most of us can't afford to do that every year, unless you're, you know, lucky enough to live in one of those states where that's a possibility. But don't keep saying, someday I'm going to do this, someday I'm going to do that. If you can't do it right now, or now's not the time, get out and do something. Get out and do something, you know, along those lines where you are. You know, I can't go to Montana or Wyoming or whatever and fish for cutthroats, or you know, up in the Rockies, or, you know, whatever. But man, I can come down here for an hour and catch smallmouths and stock trout and things like that. And I know it's not the same, but I have just as much fun doing some of the less grandiose stuff. So I'd encourage you to do that. There's no reason that you can't. You can do it just the same as I can. And you'll probably enjoy it as much as I do. I want to correct that. I said you'll probably enjoy it as much as I do. I'm not sure that that's possible, by the way. I've told you before, when somebody says to me, hey, I know how much you like fishing, I think you have no idea how much I like fishing. Seriously, none. You do not know. Because I love it. That you see a lot of out here. These are pawpaws. They're not quite ripe. These are good and hard. We've got these all over the south, but there's the leaves, big broad leaf like that, and they grow in clusters. And there's just a lot of them around, especially the last few years. It seems like they really took off in some spots, but down on these riverbanks especially. And they're really interesting if you ever get to try one. They're sort of like a cross between a banana and a papaya. Like more the texture of a banana, maybe more the flavor of a papaya, I would say. Very tropical tasting, very sweet. They got kind of a funny aftertaste, I think, but a lot of people make them into a custard or something. Alright folks, excuse all the noise in the background. I think that's going to do it for today. Did a little creek fishing because we couldn't get out in the boat and get down there with the threat of weather. I didn't want to anyway, because I figured I'd just turn around and come back. So we're gonna get on the road and head out. Thanks for joining me today. Again, do this wherever and whenever you can. If you've only got an hour and you've got a spot near you, you can go and catch some bluegills or play in a creek or whatever. Get out there and do it. It's worth doing. It's better than sitting on the couch. And if you know people that don't know anything about this stuff, teach them something. Take them out with you. That's what this channel is all about here at GVS Outdoors. It's about teaching people that might not know these things how to do it. And for those of you that do, it's always just fun to know that there's other people that think just like you do. So I've enjoyed having you along with me. Hey, like this video and subscribe, and we'll keep them coming. I'm looking forward to doing some different stuff and different types of videos and more hunting and more fishing. So till next time, we'll see you again.